Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm back with the second video. I honestly wasn't expecting to have this weighing on my mind so much throughout the entire day, but here I am. Um, I want to break down the 60-minute documentary again with more things that I didn't talk about in the first video, but also stood out to me. But I also want to relay my personal experience and my knowledge based on my time working with children extensively, as well as people with intellectual disabilities. And trust me, it would all make sense once I kind of frame all of this. Because if you're on the fringe when it comes to this whole Michael Jackson did inappropriate things with children, I just want to hope that me giving you this information can help you kind of think more clearly. But the people who already made their minds up and saying that he's guilty already know what time it is. I would never be able to convince them, unfortunately, because these are the people who already don't like Michael Jackson, never will. So they have their reason to actually rationalize why they don't. Because before, without all of these allegations, you really don't have a reason to not like him. But now these allegations, oh, I hate Michael Jackson, he's so gross and disgusting. But so here I am. As I said before, I've worked with children extensively and people with intellectual disabilities. No, I'm not a psychologist or a therapist. I've just worked with them in some capacity. But one thing I have learned, and one thing I've definitely related to Michael Jackson with for a very long time, is that we relate to children on a very deep level, and it's always very natural. We connect with children. Me and Michael Jackson, we connect with children naturally. They come so easily. They gravitate towards us, we gravitate towards them. One thing I learned about children, when you treat them right, they will always gravitate towards you. Not only they will gravitate towards you, they will always confide in you. You will always be their source of comfort, their source of peace and happiness. That's another reason why it's kind of hard for me to believe that Michael Jackson systematically abused these people who have claimed that he abused. Because if one thing about children, if they don't feel safe around you, no matter how you try to frame the abuse, there's something in their heart that they know that that is something wrong. So they will always be withdrawn, shy, timid, or just freaked out by you every single time they see you. And I say this to say, so when I worked with children, and when I learned that all of them, like the ones who've been abused, they will tell you one or two ways. The first way, they'll outright just express to you as an adult that they've been abused at home. Because once again, they were comfortable with me. I never had to ask, and I'm not even a therapist. But every time I work with a child who was abused, for example, this one girl, 6 years old, 7 years old, first grade. She had this complex where she had to be perfect all the time, whether it was a game, whether it was schoolwork, anything. But if she messed up on one thing, it'd be just a complete meltdown. No matter how I would try to comfort her, or any of my coworkers would try to tell her that everything's fine, you're doing great. No, I'm messing up, I'm a failure. And it was really like this, right? Now, one thing I did notice consistently, so her parents are split up. Her mom would pick her up some days, her dad would pick her up some days. The days her father had to pick her up, you could tell her mood would always shift, like right before she had to leave. Because she know, like, oh, my dad's coming. Now, I remember one day, I had something in my tooth this whole time. One day, the first time she actually told me what was going on, is that she was really upset already. As soon as the program, like it was an after school program, and that was the day after her dad had come to pick her up. She was like, I just really don't like when my dad picks me up. And I was like, why? What's going on? Because every time I go to his house, he either gets drunk and yells at me, or gets drunk and falls asleep, and I'm just up by myself all night. And then she also just went on. It was like, and every time he yells at me, he tells me that I'm going to be just like my mom, and he hates my mom because she's a stripper, and he's just mad that he got her pregnant. Like, I swear to God, on my mother, she said this. And I'm like, what kind of stuff is this to put on a little girl? Oh, it said, oh yeah, he always says I'm going to be just like my mom, and she's nothing but a stripper, and he hates her, and he hates me, and I don't know what I can do to make him like me. A little girl internalized the hate that her father projected onto her, and says, I don't know how to make him happy. So that's one situation. And I had to, I had no power to really talk to the power, but I had the ability to go to the higher ups and tell them about what I heard. Then in another case, as a coach and as a teacher, I would always when I played games with kids, especially the boys, we would always play basketball, football, whatever the case may be. But in sports, you always good game, high five, kids a hug, good game. Oh my God, we won, blah blah blah. We're cheering. It's one kid specifically. Every time I would either reach for a high five with him or someone around him, his natural response was to always flinch. I would, hey, high five. And my first thing was first couple times he did it, I'm like, bro, what's wrong with you? You think I'm gonna hit you or something? Are you good? Trying to laugh it off. But after he kept doing it, I'm like, all right, I need to talk to someone about this, and I need to talk to him because I need to know, why are you flinching every time I raise my hand? What do you think that meant when we got down to it at my job? What that really meant? I'll let you fill in the blanks there. So once again, children will always tell you what is going on. And the same thing with working with people with intellectual disabilities. And the people that I work with were nonverbal. They could only communicate through sign language and or sounds. There was one woman that got transferred into the house. She was completely nonverbal, immobile, could not do anything. But one thing we noticed quickly, every time someone gave her a bath, she would scream to the top of her lungs for the entire bath, nonstop. And we had the cops called on the house at least 3 different times, and it was so awkward trying to explain to the cops, oh, what's really happening? We're just giving her a bath. Nothing is happening. We even had the cops come inside once, and the girl, not the girl, but the woman, after the bath, she was just sitting in her bed, hanging out in her little nightgown, smiling. We're like, we just gave her a bath. She yells and screams to the top of her lungs every time we give her a bath. Comes to find out, she related receiving baths as abuse because that's how she got abused when she was younger and all through her adulthood. Unfortunately, when you work in these type of fields, you really notice how sick this world really is when people are abusing people who can't even stand up for themselves in any type of way. So that's my thing. So I say all of this to relate to the information provided in these little documentaries, Leaving Neverland and the 60 Minutes. You mean to tell me that all of these children who Wade, Safe Chuck, the Cassios, as children, they were able to not only withhold all of the abuse eternally that they suffered while all through their adulthood and also as teens getting abused, at the same time, idealizing Michael Jackson, saying that that's their hero, they love him. No matter what spell once again, okay, side note, if you are a survivor of SA in any way at any age, please tell me if I am wrong. That if the person abused you, no matter even if they're a relative or a friend or someone you once loved in a relationship, as a kid, if you got abused as a kid, tell me what was your natural response around your abuser if you had to encounter them again. But these people are saying that they spent their entire lives with Michael. Every single one. How does that make sense? Furthermore, for the sake of this argument, let's say Michael is actually guilty. Wouldn't that make the parents guilty too? Right? Gross negligence, child endangerment. Because how are you going to tell me that for 20 plus years your child got abused and you didn't know? In Cassio's case, 4 children got abused and you never noticed it? Once again, I understand when it comes to abuse of any kind, physical, sexual, children will always have different responses. But you're telling me all 4 of them were able to keep that secret in? Children in general cannot fucking lie. They don't know how to lie. They start shaking, they start stuttering. You know when a child is lying 100% of the time. So you're telling me that as a parent, just because this guy's Michael Jackson, you allow him to travel with your child without you present to different countries, to different states for periods of time, before cell phones, before social media, before you were able to contact people long distance 24/7, you trusted Michael Jackson. Now, I'm going to preface by saying this. As you can see, Michael is tatted on me. I don't care if I had children, No one is traveling with my child without me. That's why it does not make sense. It does not, it would never make sense. Second form, I have two nephews and a niece. I cannot fathom them traveling by themselves without one adult that they actually are related to. And another thing about children, and I know them. Once again, I know a lot of children. I grew up around dozens of cousins. I have two sisters, nieces, nephews, and I'm married into a family that has children that I love dearly. One thing about that's consistent about little kids, it's very rare for them to actually want to like spend the night at someone's house that they're not related to. Maybe it's different for Michael Jackson. But the thing is, children have this thing where routine and comfortability is important. Now, even me as a child, there was only a few houses in my lifetime when I was a kid that I would just feel comfortable sleeping at. I'll go to anybody's house for an extended period of time, all my friends, all my relatives, but actually sleeping there by myself? No, it's not. A lot of kids don't feel comfortable sleeping away from their parents. So you're telling me Michael Jackson took these kids everywhere without their parents and they were comfortable sleeping with Michael Jackson? It does not make sense. I don't care if he's a celebrity, and I don't care that he's a celebrity and these kids, he's a superstar, so we're going to feel comfortable. He's not their blood relative. And no matter how much I love Michael, he would never been in a position to take my kids away from me like that. Once again, and it just does not make any sense. Like, I don't know how people can hear these stories and think, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because if anything, if Michael did do any of this shit, the parents should definitely be convicted of those two crimes, negligence and abuse, or child endangerment. Because we live in a world where we hear, I've heard stories of mothers leaving their child in a car for a short period of time just to go inside the store, and then they get taken to jail. Or better yet, not too long ago, a mother went to jail because she had to go to a job interview. But unfortunately, she couldn't get a babysitter. Left the baby in the car, in her car seat, but the window was cracked, obviously. But when she gets out, the cops surrounded the car. Mom goes to jail. Now she doesn't have a job or her kid. So if stuff like that can lead a mother into jail, it has to be the same thing. Because you're telling me, of all the stories in this documentary, they not only got more progressively darker, but they got progressively more unbelievable. Considering the fact that the sister came out and was like, oh yeah, he had a signal like that, and every time he did that, I just knew to follow him to his room wherever he wanted me to go, and we did what we needed to do. So you're telling me he did that for so long, and not one time the parent asked, like, what are you and Michael doing when, he does this? What does this mean? Like, it does not make sense that all four got abused at the same time. Mind you, during the same timeline, once again, I said before, Wade and Save Chucks said that they were getting abused at the same time. Where did Michael have time to abuse 6 kids? It does not make sense to me. When he was married, when he was on tour for extended periods of time, there was periods of time when he didn't even live in the United States. How does this make sense to anybody? Like this, y'all gotta stop just believing stuff and as I mentioned before, the FBI, there's evidence that could incriminate you. They will stop at nothing, and I mean nothing, to find it. And it's, ironically enough, it's so funny that someone was in my comments of the previous video, oh yeah, so yeah, Bill Cosby, O.J. Simpson, Epstein, they were just all innocent, right? No, they fucking weren't. That's the point that I was making, you idiot. Like, obviously, the FBI found evidence against them that found them guilty. Except for OJ. And OJ, he only got off technicalities because they found evidence, but it was tampered with by the lead detective because he took it home. Everybody knows you don't have to be a genius or a detective to know. You cannot take evidence home. to your personal property. Then furthermore, that same detective was found to be a hardened racist. So now you can't even use the evidence that he found. No matter what he found, you can't even use it because now it gets on the grounds of unbiased. Like, this guy might be unbiased. He's already racist. So, and the funniest thing about the OJ trial, he got off using the system that was built to get people like us in jail for shit that we didn't do. But ironically, he actually fucking did it. But he got off because technicalities. So let's use our fucking brain. Another part, I'm going to stay on the sister of the Cassios because hers was the second least believable. Because, once again, so he's a pedophile and all of a sudden he likes little girls too now, right? I don't know, bisexual pedophile. I never heard of that before. But that's neither here or there. She says that Michael constantly gave them Vicodin. Now, I'm going to tell you this. As a grown-ass man, when I got my tooth pulled, they gave me codeine. And it wasn't even like a strong codeine. That shit had me loopy for the rest of the day. Now, you're telling me that Michael was able to feed 11-year-old children, 8-year-old children, 10-year-old children Vicodin constantly when the parents never noticed it? There was no physical changes. There was no emotional changes. There was no mental changes with Vicodin. What Vicodin, tell me in the comments, what does Vicodin do to adults? I'll wait. Now, imagine giving even a half of Vicodin to a child. You're telling me that they wouldn't be intoxicated, poisoned? Nobody got rushed to the hospital? Parents never asked why my child is half asleep during the day, half of the day, all of the time? Vicodin and alcohol during the day. Where are the parents? If this happened, where are the parents? I need y'all to see how this does not make sense. Where are the parents? So, if it comes down to it, and somehow Michael Jackson is guilty, somebody has to go to jail for it, right? Because it can't be Michael. But at the end of the day, all they want is money. But if it's really about justice, then those children, the Cassios and Wade and James, they should be able to hold their parents accountable too, right? Right, yeah. Then another point I want to make. Think about Michael, right? We all know what his music was about. Spreading love, joy, being ultimately creative. He, I believe, always created through his inner child. Just imaginative. He made so many different types of songs. But one thing about creatives who are creeps, they always find a way, even if it's inadvertent, put their what's the word I'm looking for? Creepiness through their music. So if we want to talk about an R. Kelly, where back in 1993 he had a song called She's Got It, where he shouted out a bunch of women. But towards the end, he says, little Aaliyah's got it. Aaliyah at the time was 13 years old. So what do you mean she got it? A song that was practically about sex. You saying she got it? Got what, R. Kelly? Bill Cosby. You want to talk about a creep that went under our noses for so long? One of the most classic episodes of The Cosby Show was the barbecue, right? Where the men and the women were arguing about the sexualization of women and the positioning of men and women all over, wanting a stripper for the bachelor party. Towards the end, all the characters start to visibly become very loopy, drowsy, or very quote unquote horny. Obviously that word wasn't used. And Heathcliff goes, they took a hit of my special sauce. You notice every time someone takes a little bit of my sauce, they get a little lovey-dovey. That's hiding out in the open. What do you think special sauce means? Let's be smart. This man was drugging people on the show and letting y'all know that's what he was on in real life. Give me a break. Diddy, so many times he showed y'all that he was fucking weird. Through all of his interviews, in every interview Diddy has ever done, he has shown you that he was on some type of fucking weird time. There's so many sound bites of him being weird. Now, same thing, Dan Schneider of Nickelodeon. As a child, I didn't see any of this because I was a fucking kid. But when that documentary came out and all of those clips replayed, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I watched this as a kid. But I can't even blame my parents at the time because, once again, this is a children's program. I'm supposed to be able to feel safe. They should be able to feel safe me watching this shit. So they're not monitoring me watching Nickelodeon. But Dan Schneider obviously had a weird foot and pickle fetish. Why are little girls stuffing their mouths with pickles on a TV show and that's supposed to be comedy? Why are little kids playing with each other's feet or dipping their feet in different substances like chocolate and freaking oil and weird shit like this on children's TV show? But we just thought it was comedy. We just thought this was weird, physical, goofy comedy where children are chugging chocolate like it's nothing. Like, the creeps are always hiding in the open. Now tell me what one creepy song Michael Jackson has. Tell me what one creepy interview Michael Jackson has that was not manipulated. Because y'all going to bring up the Martin Bashir situation where obviously it's funny people like that would bring it up. But how do you ignore the follow-up documentary that was made from Michael's perspective when he actually filmed Martin Bashir when Martin wasn't even paying attention? It shows that Martin was being phony the entire time. He constructed the whole thing. He told them, oh, let's hold each other's hand, hold each other's hands. Behind the scenes, Martin Bashir is saying one thing, but in the narration, he's saying the complete opposite, slandering Michael Jackson. So once again, if you can find a clip of Michael Jackson being blatantly weird without it being manipulated, or a song where Michael Jackson being a creep, let me know. Because one thing about creatives, we cannot hide who we truly are behind our art. It's always there. I am a creative. I write. So from Diddy, from Epstein to all these people hide in the open. It's just up to the general public to really see what type of time they're on. And to me, Michael never gave that. Like, even when I was young, I never liked Diddy. Diddy was someone I never really cared about. Yeah, some of his songs are cool, but I never was like, oh, let me go listen to Diddy by himself. I only fuck with the people he produced for. I ran on off a tangent. But that's the thing. Creeps consistently hide out in the open. I don't know, bro. Like, let me calm down, because once again, I'm trying to convince the people who are on the fringe. I'm not trying to incite some type of riot or let me calm down, let me breathe. Thank you. So, like I said, just given this information, just tell me, how does it make sense? If you believe Michael is guilty, how does it make sense to you? There's no physical evidence. No one can ever describe what he really looked like naked. All these people claim to have seen him naked before. There's no description of anything. Vicodin? You telling me he gave them Vicodin, one of the most powerful painkillers in the world. Y'all got it, bro. And alcohol? Once again, if Michael Jackson is really guilty, then the parents are guilty too. And I believe that's all I have to say about this situation. And this will be my last video. And I really hope that people can really open their minds and see what's happening right now. It's really a smear campaign to extort money from his estate. And it's been like this forever. Once again, I asked before, don't listen to what they're saying, listen to who's saying it and why. Because at the end of the day, everybody who has accused Michael Jackson has an ulterior motive. Whether it was the Arvizios, who were known scammers before they even met Michael. Was it the Chandlers, who the father was blatantly upset because Michael would never ever look at any of his scripts or help put his production company to a better platform. Like, his dad was an aspiring writer, creative, and it was just mad. Same thing with Wade. Wade was able to benefit off Michael Jackson when he was alive, and after the money dried up, after the opportunity stopped, all of a sudden Michael Jackson molested you, right? Same thing with broke ass Safe Chuck. Got a directing career that never took off, that was never invested in, went bankrupt, All of a sudden, Michael Jackson molested you. Same thing with the Casios. Got sued for AI manipulated songs that they tried to sell off as Michael Jackson. Bankrupt, in $1 million of debt from gambling. Now Michael Jackson molested you. Even, like I said, his former employee, the housemaid, stole merchandise, stole personal items from Michael Jackson, sold them for money, got sued, and now Michael Jackson touched kids. To me, none of that makes sense. To me, and then this funny thing is like, if there was evidence, it would have been found. Just like if they were able to find evidence on Bill Cosby 30 years, 40 years later, you're not going to tell me they could never find any evidence on Michael Jackson while he was alive. No one's that smooth of a criminal. So I hope they just leave him alone and beat it. That's all I have to say.